Believe it or not, being in debt can sometimes make you richer. Today, we're diving into the surprising reason why financial guru Robert Kiyosaki chooses to keep himself under debt. He once mentioned being 1.2 billion in debt, viewing it as the bank's issue rather than his own. This brings up some common misunderstandings about debt. It's not just about categorizing debt as good or bad, but understanding how it truly works. Let's dive into this topic. First, let's talk about compound interest, a fundamental financial concept. If you save money in a bank, it earns interest. When that interest earns more interest, your savings grow exponentially. For example, if your savings grow at a rate of 10% annually, according to the rule of 72, you could double your money every 7.2 years. Now, how do wealthy individuals use debt to their advantage? When you use your own money, it's like adding 2 plus 2 to get 4. But with debt, this equation can effectively change to 2 plus 2 equals 8. The secret doesn't end here. The biggest challenge to growing wealth isn't market fluctuations, it's taxes. By strategically using debt in combination with tax planning, 2 plus 2 can equal 16. We'll present a straightforward example that many have applied successfully in their financial journey, as inspired by principles from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's a simple yet powerful strategy. Today, we'll talk about using real estate as an investment, a topic familiar to many. Imagine you have $20,000 to invest. With a 10% return, you'd earn $2,000 a year. But what if you add debt to the equation? Let's say you borrow $80,000, adding to your $20,000, making your investment $100,000. If you still get that 10% return, you're now looking at $10,000, 5 times the amount you'd get with just your own money. However, remember, there's interest to pay on the borrowed money. Suppose the interest rate is 7.5%. On the $80,000 borrowed, you'd pay $6,000 annually in interest. So, your actual profit is $4,000, which is double what you'd make with just your own money. Now, let's consider taxes and the scenario of purchasing a rental property. You're not buying a house for yourself, but for someone else to rent. They pay you rent, which, in our example, is $10,000 a year. This rental income is part of the investment return. If you have an interest-only loan fixed for 5 years, you're mainly concerned with the interest payments. While you might pay down some of the principal, which is effectively money back in your pocket, the focus here is on the interest, which is the direct cost to you. Under this setup, you're using both debt and potential tax advantages to enhance your investment returns. Let's discuss how taxes significantly impact our investments. Though this isn't a detailed tax video, a key concept here is depreciation, a tax deduction that can offset other income, reducing your tax burden. This means not only do you potentially pay no tax on the $4,000 profit from your investment, but it can also lessen the tax on your other income, improving your overall return. We'll dive deeper into taxes in another session, but for now, let's concentrate on the concept of debt. We've understood that our investment can yield $4,000, but what happens if there's a problem with the loan? Will the bank pursue you for the debt? This depends on the type of debt, recourse or non-recourse. Recourse debt means the lender can claim your personal assets if you fail to pay the loan. This is common in many states for home loans. On the other hand, non-recourse debt means the lender can't go after your personal assets beyond the collateral, typically seen in commercial properties. With large-scale investments, like in millions or billions, you're usually dealing with large properties and possibly non-recourse debt. So next, we're diving into commercial real estate debt, especially in large-scale investments like apartment buildings with hundreds or thousands of units. This kind of debt is different from what most people know as retail debt. Think of commercial debt as related to bigger real estate projects, not just because they're commercial properties, but because of their size. This type of real estate is always for leasing or renting out, never for personal use. It's rare to find non-recourse debt, where the lender can't claim your personal assets for personal real estate. Usually that's reserved for commercial investments. However, once you're dealing with large-scale properties, you might encounter non-recourse debt. This changes as you build a reputation with lenders. Initially, your loans might be with recourse, meaning you're personally liable. But as you prove your success, lenders might offer non-recourse options for future refinancing. With non-recourse debt, the lender can only claim the property tied to the debt. For example, imagine buying a 200-unit apartment building for $20 million. If the loan is with recourse and you can't pay, the lender can go after your personal assets for the entire $20 million. That's a significant risk. But with non-recourse debt, the lender's claim is limited to just the property, not your personal assets. Okay, now, let's explore what happens when you use non-recourse debt in large-scale real estate investments. With non-recourse debt, if things don't go as planned, the bank can only take back the property. This is the key point to understand. Imagine you've invested $20,000 in a property using $80,000 of borrowed money. If the investment fails and it's non-recourse debt, you'd lose your $20,000, but not the borrowed $80,000. That loss falls to the bank. In contrast, with recourse debt, you'd be liable for the entire amount, including the borrowed $80,000, putting your personal assets at risk. The focus here isn't to judge whether this system is good or bad, but to explain how it works. Getting non-recourse debt isn't straightforward. It requires you to be a reliable debtor with excellent credit. Big real estate developers and investment trusts often secure such loans because banks trust them and their projects look promising. Banks typically see less risk in these arrangements. However, it's important to remember that banks aren't immune to risks. For example, when interest rates change unexpectedly, even seemingly safe investments like long-term treasury bonds can lead to trouble for banks, as seen in historical instances where banks face significant challenges due to market shifts. In the next section, we're going to talk about the right and wrong ways to use debt, especially in real estate. It's crucial to understand that debt can be risky if you don't fully understand what you're getting into. Knowledge is key. Now, let's use a concept from Rich Dad Poor Dad to illustrate this point. The book frequently references a simple financial model. Imagine a diagram with two parts. The top part is your income statement, which includes income and expenses, and the bottom part shows your assets and liabilities. For most people, their income goes straight to expenses, a cycle that keeps them from advancing financially. But what about those in business or real estate? For them, expenses should serve a purpose, to bring more money into your pocket. For instance, spending on marketing aims to increase sales. Similarly, investing in a tax advisor should ideally reduce expenses and increase net income. Now let's talk about assets. The goal of an asset is also to generate income. However, unlike an expense that might bring in money only once or for a short time, an asset keeps producing income repeatedly. That's the key difference. For example, a marketing campaign might boost sales temporarily, but to sustain that income, you have to keep investing in more campaigns. This approach emphasizes understanding cash flow and the continuous generation of income, highlighting the difference between one-time expenses and long-term assets. Let's delve deeper into understanding assets, liabilities, and the strategic use of debt. Think about real estate investments like apartment buildings, single-family homes, or condos. When you rent these out, they generate income repeatedly over time, making them assets rather than one-time expenses. Now, what about liabilities? The primary purpose of a liability is to acquire an asset. When financial experts talk about good debt versus bad debt, they refer to good debt as the kind that helps you purchase assets that will generate income. So, the question arises, why fear debt if it's used to buy assets that put money in your pocket? The answer often lies in our trust in the asset. If there's fear of debt, it's usually because of uncertainty about the asset's reliability. Yes, even experienced real estate developers face challenges like rising interest rates. However, many navigate these successfully because they understand their assets and debt thoroughly. They trust in their knowledge and their investment. A word of caution about credit card debt. It's typically recourse debt, meaning the lender can pursue you personally if you fail to pay. It's a double-edged sword. Credit cards can be useful, but only if managed wisely. Remember, every credit card expenditure is a debt you'll need to repay. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe to our channel to get more content similar to this. Thanks for watching.